The first time I saw that gate, I fell in love. And not the romantic kind. Not like meeting the one or discovering a long-lost soulmate. No, it was something purer. Like finding a perfect tool, elegant, efficient, necessary. It was a weathered redwood gate, perched at the very edge of the cliff that bordered my new home in Pacific Grove. Nothing fancy, just aged wood, salt stained from the sea air, with a simple iron latch. But that latch, that gatite was my shortcut to the world below. A private cove with untouched cliffs, a climber's paradise hidden in plain sight. I'd just dropped a hefty portion of my startup exit money into this modern glass box of a house, a thing of beauty perched like a sculpture on a ledge. I didn't care much for the wine cellar or the infinity pool or the triple-pane windows. I bought this place for the view and that gate. That gate saved me 45 minutes of tourist traffic and trail switchbacks. With it, I could go from coffee cup to carabiner in 90 seconds flat. But as always, peace doesn't last long, not when you live next to someone who sees rules as religion. Her name was Margaret Barrow, though she introduced herself simply as the HOA president. She showed up 2 days after I moved in, clipboard in hand, lips pursed so tight I thought they might disappear. Her hair was a frozen helmet of blonde ambition, and her tone, well, let's just say it didn't leave much room for compromise. "You must be Caleb," she said, like it was a charge being filed. "Yes, ma'am," I replied, giving her my best venture capitalist smile, confident, polite, disarming. Didn't work. She barely glanced at me before her eyes zeroed in on the gate. "Item 1, she said, pen clicking sharply against paper. "Unauthorized access point." I blinked. "You mean the emergency gate?" "It's a liability. As per HOA bylaws, all perimeter boundaries must be secured. That gate is non-compliant. It's a designated rescue access. Your own realtor said so." She tightened her lips. "The rules are the rules. Now look, I'm a rational guy. My whole career has been built on solving problems with logic and precision. So I sent her a well-researched email that night links to county code, documents showing the gate's purpose, even a little story I found about a climber rescued through a similar setup in Colorado. I signed it warmly, "Your new neighbor, Caleb." 3 minutes later, I got her reply. The subject line read, "The gate." The body? Just one line. Read, "Comic Sans, size 16, the matter is closed." Next morning, I went for my usual sunrise climb, except the gate was locked. Not just padlocked. This was industrial, a grapefruit-sized hunk of steel with a chain that looked like it came off a tugboat. It gleamed like a dare. I stood there staring at it, sipping my coffee, thinking, "Oh, Margaret, you've no idea who you're dealing with." Now, I could have gone for bolt cutters, but that would have been her move, blunt, angry, obvious. I preferred something sleeker, so I replaced the hinge pins with quick-release ones barely visible. But now the gate lifted right off if you knew how. I left her a note tucked under the padlock, upgraded for efficiency. "You're welcome, Caleb." She didn't confront me. The next day, a notarized letter appeared taped to my front door, using enough packing tape to seal a war crime. It listed my violations and issued a $500 fine. But worse, she'd welded the hinges shut. My gate was now a fence. That night, pacing around my living room like a lion in a cage, I knew this wasn't about access anymore. This was about control, about who got to decide how I lived. And I wasn't about to lose. Chase, my best friend and longtime climbing partner, sat on my couch nursing a craft beer. "Man," he said, shaking his head, "you're going to end up on a watch list." "It's the principle," I muttered, pacing. "She welded a rescue gate shut. Who does that?" "A crazy person," he replied. "Let it go. Take the drive. Listen to a podcast. 45 minutes each way," I snapped. "That's an hour and a half of climbing I'll never get back." He just raised his beer in mock sympathy. "You tech people and your time efficiency." But I wasn't done. No, sir. That night, I booked a helicopter. Not just any chopper, a Bell 412, courtesy of a charter company that specialized in executive transport. I called it a tactical vertical solution to horizontal obstruction. Chase called it stupid. Either way, the next morning, as the sun broke over the Pacific, I stood in my harness, helmet on, watching that chopper hover like an angel of petty vengeance. And as I rappelled down, ropes whistling past my ears, I saw her Margaret standing on her lawn in a bathrobe, eyes wide, coffee cup shaking. I paused midair, gave her a wave, and descended into glory. Later that day, the cops came. Officer Daniels and his rookie partner. Ma'am called in a complaint. Daniels said, tired before he even got out of the cruiser. Let me guess, airspace intimidation? Daniels sighed. Technically, you didn't break any laws. Just, maybe don't do that again. Of course, officer, I said, all innocence. Margaret wasn't done either. That week, the HOA passed a new bylaw on personal aircraft deployments for recreation, effective immediately. So I changed tactics. If I couldn't go over, I'd go down. Enter Styx and Barlow, a custom construction duo with a reputation for the eccentric. I hired them to build a cliffside staircase. Not just any staircase. Stainless steel, glass railings, hidden anchors that looked like something James Bond would use to escape a volcano. We had permits, plans, engineers. Margaret had rage. She fought every inch camera surveillance, noise complaints, even tried to cite Styx for a tattoo she called threatening. It was a poorly drawn penguin. I installed speakers, created a construction playlist, Wrecking Ball, AC/DC, Baby Shark, every morning at 8:01. Then came the sabotage. One stormy night, Margaret snuck onto my property and loosened a key support on the platform. Next morning, first descent, and the platform gave way. I dropped 15 feet, slammed against the cliff, dislocated my shoulder, fractured my ankle, dangled like a human piñata. Chase called 911. Fire trucks came. But the gate, remember the gate? Still welded. Still locked. And there she was again. Margaret, blocking the rescue crew. You can't cut that gate, she screamed. Bylaw 7C. The fire chief was having none of it. Ma'am, a man is hanging off a cliff. You can't, she yelled. The rules. Then Officer Daniels stepped in. Calm. Cold. Margaret, you're under arrest for obstruction and endangerment. The gate was cut. I was rescued. And Margaret? Cuffed and loaded into the back of a cruiser while the neighbors filmed. Recovery took months. Surgery, therapy, and a gift from Styx and Barlow, a framed photo of Margaret mid-scream in handcuffs. She pled out, lost her house. The HOA collapsed. The new agreement? 1 page long. Be decent. The staircase was rebuilt stronger, better. They called it the Caleb route. The gate got a new code and a fire department override. Months later, just as I was getting back on the cliff, my phone buzzed. Caleb? It's Frank, your pilot. Got a weird one. Lady wants to move some patio furniture. Says she can't do stairs. Name's Margaret. I smiled so wide it hurt. Tell her I'm available. But for her, double the rate. So yeah, that's how one locked gate led to helicopters, lawsuits, steel stairs, and poetic justice. But you tell me, was I wrong to fight it that far? Or was that gate worth it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Ever had a Margaret in your life? Hit like if you've ever fought HOA nonsense, and share this with someone who's still climbing uphill. And remember, never mess with a climber who's got internet access and too much time on his hands.